Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Harakah, Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone that rule well. And Shalom to the brothers doing all exterior truth. I saw this article and it's funny because I remember like maybe 3-4 years ago, actually maybe even longer than that, everyone was talking about this CRISPR shit. And talking about like gene editing and whatnot. But I think there was in China, someone used it on like some babies to try and give them, what do you call it? What the hell is it called? Like I think immunity to HIV or some shit. I don't know. They're trying to do, that designer baby shit. And then, because they had like the most, like I don't think they had any kind of regulations or whatever in regards to it. So it ended up with that shit getting thrown in the bin. Like in China especially, I think that guy got thrown in jail for like a couple years. And then you didn't really hear about it, and then even in the West it ain't really been spoken about. But it's funny now, it's being done just like casually by read the title. It says I edited human DNA at home with a DIY CRISPR kit. So it's just people, the biohackers. And it's funny because with it's the same with the Karagma with the mark, where you got people inserting themselves with the RFID chips and whatnot to link into their work, link into their home or whatever, connect to their fridge, go to smart homes and shit and whatnot. They're getting into it. So it's like CRISPR now is being used like that, which then they can just start pushing it from a different angle, just like, oh, this is just, what's going to happen. So as a genetic engineering using CRISPR from the comfort of home might seem futuristic, but you can do it now. Yeah. And it's again one of those things where it's on the whole angle of how they're pushing it in people's minds is from it's futuristic. It's like we're in Blade Runner now, we're in 2049 or whatever, where, you're going to be able to edit this and cybernetic enhancement and robot arms and super zoom in eyesight and whatnot. And that's what people are trying to get. So I said, I never thought I'd order live human kidney cells to my address, but that all changed when I found out about biohacker Joe Zayner's at-home genetic engineering class. You may know Joe Zayner, a biohacker who has been in the vanguard of scientific self-experimentation for years. From their role in Netflix's 2019 docuseries Unnatural Selection. The series shows Zayn's attempt to edit their DNA by injecting themselves with CRISPR, a gene editing technology. The action inspired a firestorm of criticism. It's basically this technology. I remember when I was speaking about it, was like, oh, if we develop it far enough, then we'll be able to get kids. You decide if you want a baby, because they said it was like, oh, it always starts with the health. They say it's something where it's going to be health related, where if you have a kid where they would have like a disease that there's no cure for or whatever, then you'll be able to edit genes and take that out. But then saying afterwards it could be used to change hair color, eye color, height, all these, essentially trying to become like the Most High and have be able to craft however you desire to look and be. But again, these things are not like they've not been handed into the hands of Esau. It's like he's trying to emulate to a certain extent, but then it's like, well, what's the actual how's that working out for you? Because what does it say? It says Zayn is also known for a variety of other bold moves, such as claiming to create a DIY at home C19 jump shot in 2020 and executing her own fecal microbiome transplant. Fucking hell. This guy's a lunatic, man. An avid proponent of increasing access to CRISPR technology, Joe opened a genetic engineering education company called the Oding. The company sells kits and glasses such as human tissue editing and DIY bacterial gene engineering CRISPR kit. Human Tissue Culture and Engineering 201. The class I took intends to teach students how to edit DNA through an experiment, making human embryonic kidney 293 cells resistant to antibiotics by inserting a specific gene into their DNA. Though I was unsure of my take on Joe's controversial biohacking escapades, I'm no expert. I found the prospect of playing with live edible kidney cells that come in the mail too intriguing to pass up. Yeah, because it's part of the whole allure that you're really gonna have with a beast system, where it seems like the future's arrived. Like, you're now able to just go and be like, wow, okay, so we were just we're just a beast. Shit. It'll be like, we were just monkeys. We were just ignorant lumps. Ignorant lumps that were just about what'd you call it? Jesus. We were just ignorant monkeys, before, but now it's like, that future that you've seen in movies, that you read about in books, where it's like, oh, flying cars and holograms and all this has come. Now you can have a taste of it. A lot of people find that alluring because they're just thinking like they essentially have it in their mind like this is just something that's gonna come along. It's just a matter of where we're gonna arrive at eventually. But then it's like with these things, well, it's in fact I might jump to it because can go to this. What is it? 14. Nah. Nah, it's not. Because it would be what? Yeah. Revelation 16:2, and the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. So yeah, that sore related to getting that charagma, man, that mark. That sore is a core part of how you basically gonna think. All these people are going to be messing with it. They're going to be thinking like, yo, this is the future. This is what, us merging with AI, merging with machines. That's where it's going to go. You're going to be able to, you'll have like, nano machines in you, and it'll come in and just start editing up the genes. And then, you might start, getting some kind of illness or whatnot. And then, the nano machines are going to go up and then fix it up. These are the things people have in mind, and they're basically like, yeah, within like 10 years, maybe 20 years, we could have that and that. They're thinking this, it's in their lifetime. In their lifetime, that's something that's gonna go down. But then what's the reality? The reality is in their lifetime it's gonna go down. Jesus. But the reality of it is what? It's not even gonna be on that level of a scale. They're basically gonna have it on on like a level where it's just gonna be used for what? To their detriment, man. Tracking them for a system of control more than anything else. That sore's gonna blight them, man. Because even with these things, people could do it, end up jacking themselves up hella. So it says, my kit, which cost about $800, arrived a few days before the class started. It came with amateur science gear, a biohacking is not a crime sticker, the kidney cells I'd been dreaming of, vials of brightly coloured liquid intended for DNA editing endeavour. Soon after I joined the online class, joining our partners crushed Red Bull and cracked jokes about kidney monsters growing out of our sinks. I laughed along, pipette in hand, but I don't know whether to feel like a mad scientist or baby playing with a match in gasoline. To edit genome of kidney cells, students use pipettes to add a variety of liquids with funky names to the cells. One of them was a plasmid containing the DNA coding for an antibiotic resistance gene. The other liquids were involved in, as I like to think about, shoving the DNA into the cells. I'll be lying if I said the experiment didn't feel like following a cookbook recipe at times. Lots of pausing, rewinding, and brow furrowing went on. Despite my best efforts, the gene editing experiment failed in the end. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's all this that's being attempted. All these things they're going into. Bruv, it's Esau's not is being everyone's looking at him like, oh, this guy's so legendary, this guy's so heroic, but what we're dealing with is he's trying to mess with things that he has no business seeing, man. 50. Yeah. Isaiah 55:8 says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord Yahweh. For the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." What he's just trying to do is basically get into what Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is dealing with. He's trying to make it where it's like, okay, oh, you made this, and then okay, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna flip and turn and make it so you made this guy where he can't walk, or you made this guy so he can't he might have a certain weaknesses or whatever within his flesh. And then he's thinking like, oh, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna flip that on his head, I'm gonna make it okay. So you're meant to be vulnerable to this, so you might have something that might be upon you because of prior lifetimes as well. It might be a judgment you're dealing with for something you did in a previous cycle you came around. But now you're just gonna come in and be like, nah, I'm gonna bring an end to all that. I'm gonna flip it. Because why? It's as far as for what you call that, as far as for Esau, he's the bounds have been set for him, man. He's got a limit on what he can do. But he's trying to do the most. So I was just had something in mind, but I've actually forgotten. Oh yeah. It says what Isaiah 29. Is it 29? Yeah. 29:16 says, "Surely your turning things upside down shall be esteemed as a pot's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding?" Esau's essentially trying to say, Most High had no understanding. Saying, oh, you got made with, whatever. They're just saying like with the kidney cells or whatever. Even with something on that level of a scale. Saying like, nah, we're gonna make it so you're basically no longer gonna have that fallibility, and even if it succeeds or not, it's what you're trying to attempt is basically just go about and establish things in the own way you desire to have them, rather than how Yahweh Hashem Yahushua has it set up. And that's a big part of a lot of what Esau does. That's more or less the structure of his society. Him basically trying to be like, yo, I'm gonna establish my own, set of rules of righteousness, laws, etc., ways of conduct, and completely throw out everything that has to do with righteousness of the scriptures. But then end result of that is what was it? 14. Isaiah 14:5, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months of thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Yeah, Esau's got the bounds on what his society is going to do. Because even with all the technology, the merging of human and machine, he's going to get to the point where that mark is going to be established. That's something that's been set up in prophecy for him to achieve. He's going to get where he'll be able to put it out on a mass scale where people are going to be, getting the mark, dealing with the mark. But then, on a further level, that's basically the bounds have been set, the limit's been set. He's trying to do too much. Isaiah 28 and 3, it says, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. And that's the thing, he's wiser than Daniel. He's been able to get the riches, he's been able to get the treasures, and he's been given certain wisdom, certain technologies, certain miracles to do. He's been given nuclear technologies, atomic bombs and whatnot. He's been, various forms of electricity, various technologies. He's got smartphones, computers, cars, planes, all these different things. Different forms of wisdom he's been given, but then they all serve a purpose as far as for what Esau needs to achieve. With the planes going into the prophecy, Revelation 9, talking about World War One, about how the airborne vehicles are going to be used within that conflict. Same for like World War Two, the atomic bomb and whatnot, and those technologies and the nuclear technologies. How it's going to go down in World War Three. These things need to come about, and that's how when you deal with technologies that Esau deals with, it all starts with military discoveries and whatnot, or utilization of certain things, and then afterwards it'll military technologies will be utilizing certain things. Then afterwards it will be applied in like civilian, like on a civilian level. Same with like the internet. It was what I think DARPANET, I believe, where it was basically set up for internet use, for them to internet for military use, for them to share information. But then afterwards it was brought out to the general public years down the line with a civilian version. And that's the way of a lot of these different technologies, where it will have its uses in the military, then afterwards they'll monetize it. It says what by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Power, because thou hast set thine heart as a heart of God. Yeah, Esau's thinking, because one, he's been given these blessings, and two, because Yahweh Hashem Yahshua hasn't taken him out. He's basically he's what do you call it? Been coming against Israel, been coming against Israel for the longest, and it appears like, oh, there's been no, there's been no punishment for it. It's just like, yo, it's like, okay, it's like he's been able to do his thing, and it seems like it's all good, it's all tickety boo. So he's even more just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go even further. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Power, because thou hast set thine heart as a heart of the Most High. Behold, therefore, I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. They shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Yeah. The armies, the different nations that are gonna come against Esau. Both of Esau's rule, which is done for America, Babylon the Great. Or they're all gonna come against it, because why? It's a matter of time of judgment, man. And it's the things that essentially now, Esau's trying to say, just forget about it. It's not, where no one's alive anymore that was doing them things. It's all good now. Now that what do you call it? Like years on, when it's in the cracks, in the corners of the memory, that's when the judgment's getting ready to take place. Which is why it's inescapable. So all of a sudden, these what do you call it, man? The words coming out on a scale, it's just like, damn, this is inescapable. This is going into the mainstream. Because why? It's all culminating in where Esau's gonna have that all his dirty laundry aired out, man. What he's trying to accomplish, who he thinks is on that godlike level is going to be found to be a man. Wilt thou say before him that slayeth thee, I am a god, but thou shalt be a man and no god in the hands of him that slayeth thee. Yeah, that's how it's going to roll, man. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Yeah, but Shalom.